Well, good afternoon to those of you in the Americas, and good evening to those of you in Western Europe, and good morning to those of you in Australia or China or Japan or various other places in that part of the world. This is David Rovix with my last Saturday of the month concert from my living room, which I do on the last Saturday of every month at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. GMT, at least as all the time changes go at the moment. And we're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you are watching on one of those platforms, feel free to share the broadcast and tell other folks it's happening in case they might enjoy that. I would love to meet them and sing for them, whoever they are. And what other housekeeping announcements are there? Oh, I think if you're watching on Facebook, well, if on any of these platforms, if you'd like to comment or question me or anything like that, insult me, whatever, I can see all of that on the comment screen that I'm looking at here on StreamYard, which is the platform I'm using to broadcast to you right now. But you might need, if you're on Facebook, in order to comment, you might need to go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give StreamYard, give the permissions necessary to have these apps communicate with each other. I don't think you need to do that if you're leaving messages on YouTube or Twitter, but I think on Facebook you have to do that. And so here we are, and it's lovely to be here with you virtually, whoever you are, wherever you are. If you are, I mean, I don't know, it's all very theoretical, but I think you're out there. Somebody, a sea shanty enthusiast, made a comment on YouTube before I actually started broadcasting. And I want to know how that is possible and how that works. Paula did that a few days ago on another broadcast. I'm all mystified by these things. I didn't think that sort of thing was possible, but apparently, when I'm preparing to broadcast here on StreamYard, somehow or other YouTube notifies people of that, or I'm somehow or other, I don't know. I have no idea, but somebody knows, and it's not me. But here we are. And I was just, I actually spent much of the day preparing for this, much of the morning, that is, preparing for this broadcast and practicing and stuff like that, which I probably should have done more of before I sang on Attila the Stockbroker's Attila Introduces Facebook group a few days ago. But so sorry for anybody who I might have been unprepared for there, but I think that concert went okay, even with a couple of false starts of songs that I thought I knew that I didn't, but this is sort of standard in my sets, and I'm probably not very professional, but yeah, once you schedule a stream, people can wait for it and use the live chat. Apparently so. Yeah, that must be it, Sean Griffey. Thank you. I think that must be. That makes the most sense. Okay. People do understand this. That's good. Okay. So it's not the NSA after all. That's good. This is always my suspicion. Oh, but on the People's Music Network listserv, which I'm on, which as somebody mentioned, Ben Grosscup mentioned, I think we've both been on that listserv since the mid '90s at least, But it's a long-standing listserv, but Mark Levy posted a Christmas carol. It's a February Christmas carol, but it makes actually perfect sense. And I don't think I've ever sung a Christmas carol to anybody online before, so this might be a debut of some strange kind. But I'll give you this little bit, which was, I thought, a wonderful rewrite of a song which desperately needs to be rewritten. To joy to the world, your mail has come. Though Christmas cards are late, let every envelope be sent along with hope. It gets there by the spring, it gets there by the spring. I'm Postmaster General, your letter king. I love it. The mail's really messed up and so expensive. I mean, there's a lot of other bigger problems in the world, and that the U.S., of course, is causing. But the mail is very, very messed up. Let's see. Oh, Tony's mentioning on YouTube the fight for 15 and minimum wage strike. There's a good subject. Let's see. Do I have anything planned around that, or do I need to make some adjustments? I'll think about that. That's a good idea. I was thinking about various developments in the news, and that is certainly one of them, or it should be one of them. But at least the fight for the $15 an hour minimum wage, which of course is apparently not going to be part of the $1.9 trillion package that the Democrats have squeaked through the Congress apparently today or yesterday. But apparently the minimum wage raised to 15 is not part of it, which is not good. If they're talking about Black Lives Mattering and all that, then you can't not raise the minimum wage to 15. That's ridiculous. Then there's a basic fundamental contradiction in principles. I think if you make $15 an hour, you might be able to live in an apartment, like average 2-bedroom apartment in Portland, Oregon, but definitely not for less than that. And that would be pushing it. But I was, I don't have a specific set list exactly planned out, but I was kind of going through songs that I wrote recently and songs that are especially relevant to recent news developments. And the United States, of course, has the Biden administration, of course, has I think hopefully for people they're not surprised by this, that they've already launched a military strike in another country, and they say it's in retaliation for missiles launched on U.S. military bases in Iraq a couple months ago or whatever. And it's just like starting the timeline at a completely random place. Just like you might as well say this was a response to something that happened in kindergarten or what. Come on. Missile strikes in Baghdad, skies full of fighter jets. The tension in the air, as thick as it gets. Their talking points are loaded at each press conference with what passes for an effort at historical reverence. They talk of things that happened over 40 years before, that they say now brings us to the edge of world war. They talk about the hostages, so let us now rewind. When the students took the embassy, just what did they find? When the students took the embassy, I was just a kid, but I remember well the first things they did. Let all the women go while collecting all the trash, all the shredded documents that weren't yet turned to ash, all the shredded documents that clearly showed the torture and corruption, how the power flowed. The concept of a captured state was one the Shah defined. When the students took the embassy, just what did they find? When the students took the embassy, they found the crimes of Savak, had the CIA hiding under every rock. And that's where they had been, where the agents were based. They had a staff of thousands there. From there they laid to waste the dreams held by so many for a free society, like the one they overthrew back in 1953. Historic crimes exposed in the shredder once consigned. When the students took the embassy, just what did they find? When the students took the embassy, And that's a song about, well, the when the students took the embassy in Tehran in 1979, and is very relevant to recent developments. But somebody, was that Rocky, whoever that is, they're tired of me talking and want me to play the guitar, but that's okay. They can go to Spotify and you can hear my music, and then you don't have to hear me talk. What are you doing? There are some strange people in the world. Okay. And what was I going to do? I'm going to do this one because more on history. More history before we get up to the present. I don't have a plan here, but I'm going to stay back in the 1970s here. Because, if we don't understand what happened before, as I've probably said too many times to whoever's watching, then we're bound to just, keep on going with that. And that is very much true in Greece as well. And Dimitris Koufantinos has been on hunger strike for for 48 days, I believe, is the latest number. And most recently, I believe he stopped drinking, which is very dire indeed. And I was contacted by some friends in Greece, which is how I heard about this, because, it's not news in my circles, and I now know about it, and wrote a song about it. And let's see, this is interesting. Getting a message on Facebook about Ann Arbor City Council resolution against military aid to Israel. Excellent. Very good. Very good. And I think I might have even been planning on doing a song related to that subject there, which wouldn't be unusual. Thank you, Butter. November 17. What key do I do this in? Let's see. Okay. Preparation. There was preparation, and then, preparation is a matter of degree. November 17 is where you could start the tale. As historians know well, it's been 3,000 years since the Athenians set sail, 6 centuries since the city fell. But we don't need to take the calendar so far back to make sense of the scene. We can start in 73 when the soldiers attacked on November 17. On November 17, there had been thousands in the street. A rising against the junta had begun, occupying buildings, marching on their feet by the time the day was done. Tank treads on the campus of the university. It looked like a scene from a war. There in the cradle of democracy, the number dead was 24. November 17, military rule continued with its backers from abroad. More blood on the hands of the Chicago school. More decades of kleptocratic fraud. More decades of brutality, control by police force. No wonder that something had to give. Repressive people, and some will resist, of course, if people have the will to live. On November 17, half so much blood was spilled. No wonder soon after that day, in the armed resistance, the first man killed would be the station chief of the CIA. In the battle for a country, whether everyone knows why, there's nothing in between. Actions have consequences, sometimes people die, just like on November 17. On November 17, as the years ensued, the November 17 group disbanded. 19 years ago, in 2002, just as the government demanded, Dimitris Koufantinas turned himself in, there by the Aegean Sea, still paying the price now for the original sin of 1973 on November 17. As so many other people comment, it's such a weird thing to hear the crows crowing in the background after a song ends instead of applause. Although, you know, if it were, I mean, like this, even if the number of people who say they're watching were actually in this room, that would be, you know, a nice little group of people applauding. I mean, I don't know why we're so attached to applause. It's just habit, you know, we're just creatures of habit, I guess. Feedback, interaction, you know, the possibility of a wayward glance. Who knows, you know, seeing somebody you met 10 years ago. You never, you know, gigs, think they're... What was I looking for here? No. Oh, yeah. What's the skeleton key saves a lot of hassle? I don't know what that's related to, but I like it. I like these random comments. One of the good things about developing early amnesia is when people make comments about something you may have just said like moments before, but you've already forgotten what it was you said early, you know, moments before. And so then it's like, you know, what are they talking about? I don't know. Is that related to something? It could be related to something. It's probably related to something I just said, but what was it, you know? Or, you know, or who knows? But that's, it just means you have to stay on your toes more. Me and Chris Chandler are working out a version of this song, this next one, to do together. Oh, now it makes sense. Skeleton keys and musical keys. That's a good pun. There's lots to be done with that one, potentially. Let's see. I was singing this one several times, so I know this one today. Yeah, here we go. Dreamed I saw Ann Feeney. It was on a picket line somewhere in the world where the workers did combine, cheering on the strikers with a guitar in her hand, from Oregon to Ireland. I dreamed I saw Ann Feeney amid the foggy glow of the flashbang grenades outside the WTO, singing songs against the war at a military fort or making arguments in court. I dreamed I saw Ann Feeney in the Texas hills singing songs around a torch at Kerrville, crossing every bridge she could with the wheels of a car, with some CDs in the trunk, along with a guitar. I dreamed I saw Ann Feeney. I dreamed she never fell. She was in Baja with her grandkids doing swell, sharing free advice on how to find the cheapest flight so you can be throwing Swedish snowballs beneath the northern lights. I dreamed I saw Ann Feeney get her first dose of vaccine instead of reading of the people who died of COVID-19 in the New York Times. Nice things that they said, but I so much wish we could have her still here instead. I dreamed I saw Aunt Feeny. So, I was a song about my good friend Ann Feeney, who just died of COVID-19 at the age of 69. A couple weeks ago. And so I got a new album coming out, literally any day now. I don't know when exactly, because it's a there are a bunch of people involved, and working on schedules and times when they're inspired and when they have time and when there's no storm overhead. Paul McAdam, absolutely brilliant musician, songwriter, activist in Ireland, who has a little home studio, but it's very much the home emphasis on home studio. When there's a storm, he has to wait until it passes, and that in the winter in Ireland on the top of a mountain, that can take a while. So recording and other activity, mixing is one thing, but recording is another thing, and you need to wait for the storm to pass. And so, but in any case, we got an album in the works. In December, me and a couple great musicians around here, a bass player and drummer, recorded a bunch of tracks together, and basically sent all that to Ireland, to Paul McAdam, who has been adding other instrumental goodies and doing wonderful mixing of the parts, and is basically eventually going to be sending me a bunch of tracks, at which point we say the CD or the album is out. And then it goes up on the various platforms where you can download it and stream it and all that. And so here's one of the songs that's going to be on it. Although the album will have all sorts of accompaniment, which makes this song and the rest of them much more interesting. And this one has a particularly space age kind of mix, which you can actually find out. Sneak preview of it. You can go to patreon.com/David Rovix and get download a free sneak preview of this song, and the rest of the album will be up for free streaming again. The rest of it will be up soon when I got it all. It's called "There's Water on the Moon," and I'm not advocating we give up on Earth, contrary to the comment on YouTube by whoever that teenager was who figured I must be advocating misanthropy, but I love humans. The news isn't getting any brighter. The death toll isn't getting any lighter. There's a dark pall drifting overhead with so many more people dead. Turn on the computer or the TV set. It's a world full of anger and death threats. What could happen if life could be supported somewhere else where things might be better sorted? A place where some could start anew, another way to say we're not through, despite all of the destruction, all the bad decisions made, all of the madness we could trade for a place more remote than primate or penguin has ever been. There's a discovery, a silver lining for the cloud that has some folks singing out loud. There's water on the moon way up there. Maybe you and I should go live on a frozen lake without a care, looking down at the earth below. The cafes are all closed. You won't miss the sight of someone bringing to your table a flat white, we can still make espresso up there. In our bubbles, breathing freshly manufactured air. When we go outside, we can jump so high. You speak into your mic, I'll hear your reply. We can look at the green earth with shit well from up in the place that makes the waves swell. There's water on the moon, way up there. Maybe you and I should go live on a frozen lake without a care, looking down at the earth below. Up there life is simple, with just a couple distractions, too few of us to form a faction. We all practice great lunar hygiene, all tested, cleared, and quarantined. Go back to visit now and again the planet we lived in way back when, before the satellites found H2O and some of us said fuck it, let's go. There's water on the moon, way up there. Maybe you and I should go live on a frozen lake without a care, looking down at the earth below. There's water on the moon, way up there. Maybe you and I should go live on a frozen lake without a care, looking down at the earth below. There's water on the moon. Oh, there's a jet fighter flying overhead. Can you hear that? So, let's do this. There's Sea Shanty Enthusiast is going to live on the moon so you can throw moon rocks at Elon Musk's Mars rockets. That's a great reason to live on the moon. Totally. Absolutely. I'm so with you on the moon rock throwing. Yep. Absolutely. Just don't throw moon rocks at the oxygen tanks. I mean, it's just something, some scene out of Mars, you know, the Martian. You don't want to be that guy with the, you know, everything, you know, blowing up. You know, you want to be able to grow your vegetables up there without starving. But let's see here. Oh, what was I gonna do? Something. Oh yeah, I was thinking of this one, but it's, how relevant is it really? They're all relevant. But this one, I was thinking of it a lot lately in all the various conversations. I keep on hearing all these people, I guess it's based on stuff that they are hearing in the liberal press or stuff they read about fascism from the 1930s. This idea that all the fascists are bourgeois and that fascism is not a popular thing among the working class. And it's really like, you guys got to get outside. You live in the city, you can explore it for years. See all there is to see, hear all there is to hear. A decade might pass by before you'd ever deign, if you're driving down the highway, to take an exit lane that doesn't bring you to the airport or Multnomah Falls, but to the neighborhoods along the way with the rotting walls. Go on, park your car, take a walk when you arrive east of the 205. If you live in the city, you might have sampled all the wine. You've been a salt and star and pock, waited patiently in line. Gone to every strip club you ever heard about. Tried all of the espresso, all the porter, all the stout, without ever having reason to cross that road, beyond which so many are crushed beyond the load, where you can meet a lot of folks just trying to survive, east of the 205. If you live in the city and you think it's so high-tech, you think it's full of hipsters with tattoos on their necks, IT experts and house flippers, cold brew connoisseurs, shopping malls, poke bowls, and Segway tours, far beyond the bridges as the tent villages grow, as the trees decline in number, as the stats all show. So many die so young as they try to stay alive, east of the 205. You live in the city and you're looking for pickup trucks, American flags and trailers full of folk down on their luck, cheap motels with residents breathing fumes all day from the cars speeding down the highway. You don't need to go to Texas or the Chesapeake Bay. If before you reach the suburbs you stop along the way, you'll find a secret city if you go and take a dive, east of the 205, east of the 205, east of the 205. So that's a song about East Portland, and here's another song related to Portland, because the Biden administration, I believe, on the same day that they're very busy. I believe it's all like within 24 hours. I believe this is an accurate statement. Within 24 hours, they passed a $1.9 trillion bailout of, human beings and corporations, some combination thereof. They bombed Syria. They talked to the Saudi king and supposedly criticized him for having a murderer of a son. And they declared that Portland, Seattle, and New York City are no longer anarchist jurisdictions. All that happened in like 24 hours, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, well, I don't know. It's just hard to know what to think. You can find this on the latest album. Not the one that's coming up in the next few days, but the one that's actually out. Like, you can find it on davidrovics.com. It's called Say Their Names. This is one of the tracks. It's on Spotify. If this were... I don't even know why I tell you these things. This is like old habits. Old habits die hard. This is like an indication that I'm over 50. That I even say these things. Like, whoever bothers mentioning websites and platforms anymore? It's like everybody knows these things, right? Okay, so I have just established my ancientness. Now I will sing this song. If this were an anarchist jurisdiction, as the president likes to say, then Kendra James and Quantas Hayes would be alive today. They would not have been gunned down by a racist police force, because we would have defunded it long ago, of course. Taking all that money to spend on things that people need, not violent gangs of thugs in blue making people bleed. If this were an anarchist jurisdiction, as the Attorney General tells, then we would already have emptied all those prison cells, housing the mentally ill and so many, many more who are only locked up for being sick or for being poor or for having been set up or for crimes of poverty. There'd be none of that nonsense under our authority. If this were an anarchist jurisdiction, it'd be a beautiful scene with so much less asphalt, so much more green. And there would be no tear gas, no eviction raids. You'd see what solutions look like when they're not just band-aids. If the people ran this city, not just millionaires, we'd take the stolen profits, that which they call theirs. If this were an anarchist jurisdiction, as the brown shirts oft repeat, you'd not see these tents and couches lining every street, without control by corporate interests that dominate our lives, making sure that they have everything while we're lucky to survive. It's profit over people, no matter how much blood they shed. If we were calling the shots, then you could turn that on its head. If this were an anarchist jurisdiction, and oh man, you're just doing really good with these puns. Sea shanty enthusiast. Under anarchism, we do not have band-aids, only banned mutual aids. Banned mutual aids. But mutual aids for sure. Mutual aid, not band-aid. That's really good. Damn. Okay, if you're not going to make a song out of that, then I will. Just let me know if that's taken or not. Because, I mean, Band-Aids, Band-Aid, man, that's great. Because there was that Band-Aid thing. I mean, of course, I guess that would require people remembering what Band-Aid was when Bob Geldof organized that concert. Band-Aid. Of course, but everybody knows what a Band-Aid is and the idea of Band-Aids as opposed to mutual aid. So you don't need to know what the concert is. But if you did, I guess that would help. That's very good. Yeah. Yep. Let's do. Oh, that's right. You're Ben. Okay. That's Ben. All right. Maybe I shouldn't give that away. I don't know. But you're good. Good. Yeah. Okay. That's our next song then. Come on, get started on that one, Ben, and we'll write another song. Excellent. Mutual aid, Band-Aid. Damn. I wonder if people who speak English as a second language are better at coming up with those things than those of us who speak it as a first language. Because there's a pattern here I've noticed. Yeah, that's Ben. I noticed there's a delay. I figured it out. I thought I knew who you were, and then I totally had you pegged as the wrong person. But which is the nature of these handles. So let's see here. What was like? Oh, here we go. Texas. Hello, Texas. I mean, I don't know who's watching from Texas because you don't have electricity for the most part, or maybe some of you do by now, but you're maybe busy trying to get some water so you can take a shower and eat some food that's not poison, or find somewhere to buy some food that's, in a shop that has any. Sounds pretty bad. Everything broke down because of capitalism and deregulation. But, of course, as usual, the people in the prisons are the ones who are suffering the most there in Texas, as anywhere else where disasters like this tend to happen. Although, of course, as people should know, when COVID hit Iran, the first thing they did was empty out many of the prisons. They over 70,000 people they freed from the prisons to try to prevent the spread of the disease in the prisons, but not here. But certainly not in Texas. So one of the folks living there who's been in prison now for 25 years, who's there now with no electricity or running water, probably very much at risk of getting COVID, and is this man who comes up for parole this year. If there's anybody in Texas who's or anywhere who wants to try to work on this, he comes up for parole this year. Alvaro Luna Hernandez. started life with a shorted hand. Growing up in Texas, on occupied land, his troubles with the law and with the sheriff of Alpine resulted from a racist gang crossing every line of respect for human decency. Vicious thugs in blue who've ruled the hills of Texas since long before 52. In the middle of the 20th, when Alvaro was born, it wasn't long before the first time that he was torn from the streets of Alpine to a windowless cell, when the cops kicked in his head till no one could tell if he'd live or die, and somehow he was breathing still when the morning sun was shining in the Texas hills. Alvaro Luna Hernandez grew up to lead the fight against police corruption and for human rights. Falsely accused of murder, incessantly harassed, a young life in constant danger, quickly flying past. So on the day a cop came to his house, pointed his gun, Alvaro knocked it out of the officer's hands, and he did run. Alvaro Luna Hernandez hid out underground after the biggest manhunt in West Texas. They fired many rounds. He managed to surrender without being shot, and that was the last breath out of prison that he ever got. The trial was a sham, and he was given 50 years, sentenced by the machine to be ground up in the gears. Since 1996, a quarter century ago, in solitary confinement, they've kept our Alvaro. He's now lived to be an old man, and whether he ever leaves, justice in the USA exists only for the thieves who came and stole this country, declared it to be theirs. Slave masters in power, Chicanos in the crosshairs. Alvaro Luna Hernandez started life with a shorted hand, growing up in Texas on occupied land. Sorry to hear your pipes are busted, Angie, there, Texas. Glad you got power. It's and how much are you paying for that power, Angie? You're paying $9,000 a day for that power? This deregulated power company, and I love the name of this deregulated power company that sends power, sells you power based on the market rate with no ceiling for when it is completely astronomically out of the park. This company is called, what is it called? Gritty. like did they think about that? This kind of rhymes with greedy. It sounds a lot like greedy. It's amazing. Yeah, let's see here. More music. Well, and of course another thing that's in the news, as it's always in the news, is the prospect of a massive crisis of evictions, which is coming any month or is here, depending on where you are, in this country. Of course, I'm talking about the United States. And the other countries, they have functional welfare states, and they have laws against evicting people. People in this country might be surprised to know. But we used to have laws against it. in the 1930s in Chicago, there were laws against evicting people, and that happened because of the eviction defense movement that was very widespread during the 30s. If you're in Portland, please go join. Go to artistsforrentcontrol.org and join Portland Emergency Eviction Response so that we can get prepared for when the big eviction crisis happens here. But it is happening in lots of other places already, and even despite the federal moratorium, and there's a lot of legal confusion and a lot of, all sorts of stuff going on. Oh, great. People watching in Panama, Southampton, England, the Netherlands, Texas. Glad you like, somebody's commenting they like my song Syrian Princess. I haven't done that in a long time. I could practice that, but I couldn't do that now. I'd have to remember the chords. They're cool chords. But no, that's I have to do songs about these people mentioning these things, but now there's too many people in different places. Gacko in New Mexico and Megan in Ontario, Hamilton. I have such good association with Hamilton, Ontario. What a nice, unpretentious town, Hamilton. Each couch by the street has a story. That's a little too low. I was just messing around with it before. Let's see. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll introduce this a little bit. Here in Portland, and I'm sure it is true all over the place, where there are evictions or people moving out quickly, and you can kind of tell what's going on based on the quality of the furniture and how quickly it's put out, and whether it's put out at the end of the month. And I mean, you can kind of get some ideas about what's happening. If people are just getting rid of furniture or buying new furniture and stuff like that, there's no need for them to be doing it right at the end of the month necessarily. I mean, there are also questions of garbage being picked up and large items getting picked up at different times and all that, but that's not what's happening here. It's and you can tell also by the placement of the furniture on the sidewalks. I mean, I'm getting into all these details because people often comment like, "Oh, are they having a party?" Or like, "Is it frat boys having a party?" Or is it what is going? I mean, there's a lot of reasons to put a couch outside, right? Obviously, right? Not all bad reasons. Lots of But I do a lot of walking around and putting up stickers. Let's see, this one. I don't know if Susan is watching, a wonderful artist in Milwaukee who is responsible for this gorgeous piece of art that's on these stickers, which for those of you listening to the podcast version later on This Week with David Rovix, wherever you get your podcasts, it says "Capitalism breaks my heart, stop evictions," and it has a gorgeous woodcut looking image of people being evicted, and it has a little bit of information on the bottom about joining Portland Emergency Eviction Response. And when I put up those stickers all over town, you see a lot of couches and a lot of other things. Each couch by the street has a story. Some were brand new just last year. Each couch by the street has a story. Some were brand new just last year. Looks like days ago someone had a door key. It was in a living room, not here. Getting covered in leaves falling down. Getting soaked each time it rains. Did someone split quickly, head out of town? Perhaps whoever left these coffee stains. Each couch by the street has a story. I wonder what this one may be. Another one too dry to have been out for long. It was once someone's property. Did they leave their home and move into a car, or find a sofa to sleep on at a friend's place? Did they stay near or go away far, disappear with hardly a trace? Each couch by the street has a story, one that ended without a yard sale. No one's buying much in the pandemic. Most any such plans are derailed. Along with the crashing economy, all the people who just got the sack. Could just be a time for society to have one another's back. Each couch by the street has a story, and those stories will soon multiply. Once the ban on evictions is lifted, once thousands more people have died. While we're here in a country that's failed, when the moratorium is through, when they come to evict your neighbors, what will you do? Each couch by the street has a story. So, one of the things that I think about when they talk on the news so blithely, which I just realized, there's a band in England called Blythe Power, which is named after the band. It's named after the last name of the singer, I believe, the main songwriter of the band, I believe, Blythe, Blythe. But it's Blythe Power. The power of, when you think about the word Blythe, I just realized that is a wonderful double entendre. I don't know how I did not figure that out before, but what a great name for a band. I've known about this band for so long and never thought about that the name actually was a joke, as well as the last name, Blythe Power. But anyway, when they talk so blithely on the news about bombing Syria and about all the, whether there were 6 people killed or 22 people killed, and whether the militia was backed by Iran or some other country, it's just like this kind of talk is like, it's just amazing hearing these people talk as if refugees didn't exist, as if wars didn't have consequences, as if bombing was just this surgical strike kind of thing. It's just astounding. The joke, what does it mean, Chloe? I think the power of Blythe, I would say, to me, having just thought of it, it means the power of being basically cynical and disinterested, and what a power that can have over a society, because what is really needed for anything to change is exactly the opposite, is a popular mobilization and people to be optimistic and hopeful and have a vision, not to be cynical and to be defeated by the power of blitheness of the Blythe in power. That's my. I don't know if it's a joke. Calling it a joke might be the wrong term, but it's a double meaning anyway. There's probably nothing funny about it, but it's a great band. And Attila the Stockbroker has an amazingly funny poem about the singer of the band called, is that the same band? Joseph Porter's Sleeping Bag? No, that's a different band. Now I'm getting my bands confused. Anyway, it's a great poem regardless. It's about a different band. Somebody can correct me on that if you're in England. This is a song about the refugees, one in particular. It's been in the news in Belgium recently. Their country was invaded and destroyed. Then they had a baby boy. They sold everything they owned so they might escape the war zone. They took the Baltic route north and west. It was the one the smuggler said was best. He got as far as Germany, which is where they had another baby. It's a deadly thing, what some call immigration. England was their final destination. In a crowded van, driving to the port, on past Flanders fields, yet another life cut short. Cops on every side, the vehicle surrounded. When a loud crack sounded, Mama held her daughter tight in place. Then she saw the bullet hit her face. And Mauda was her name. Mauda was her name. There are many ways to stop a van, many ways to do it they can. Make a roadblock for one. If you're under fire, you can use your gun. But all the bullets flew in one direction. At first they denied it, but at closer inspection, the cop was aiming for the driver's head. But he missed, hit the girl instead. And Mauda was her name. Mauda was her name. If the driver had been hit, how many more? Numbers would be added to the score of those who only wanted to raise a family, but then died on the shores of Turkey, or somewhere in the desert, or tortured in a prison, or on the bottom of the ocean, at a Baghdad checkpoint, or at a traffic stop, or shot down by a Belgian cop. Mauda was her name. Mauda al-Shawri. Mauda was her name. Yes, Chloe, I'm afraid it's about a real event. One of many, but that's about a real event. Look up Mauda al-Shawri on the highways of Belgium. You'll find it. Well, this has been a great pleasure, believe it or not, singing for you all. And it's very comforting to see that the audience keeps growing as the show goes on, which does not happen with my interviews. I guess but I think the interviews are good, but they're interviews and people aren't following me on, because I'm doing interviews. They're more interested in the music, which makes sense. But I'll just keep doing the interviews anyway, because they keep me sane. I've been having back issues lately. It's gotten better. It was bad for a few days. It got better. I don't know what happened. I have 3 children, but 2 small ones that are the relevant ones for back issues, the ones that you pick up all the time, The teenager no longer, she can pick me up, but I don't pick her up that much. But the 2-year-old and the 4-year-old, I pick up a lot. And the 4-year-old is remarkably heavy, actually 55 pounds. And that is a very heavy thing for picking up a lot. But he's too fun to pick up. So, you got to do it. And, but anyway, where was I going with that? Nowhere. I'm going to do one more song. I usually keep these things to an hour because that's how it, just seems about right. And I will be back tomorrow to do an interview with a musician and a playwright and an actor, but it's still an interview. It's not a performance, with Tayo Aluko, who has a new audio play coming up which I participated in actually as an actor, two of my very limited acting extent there with a few lines. Audio play called Paul Robeson's Love Story love song about Paul Robeson's efforts to sing in Peekskill, New York, and the Peekskill riots that were very closely related to those efforts. Fantastic audio play coming out soon, and we'll be interviewing him. Me and Paula De Angelis will be interviewing Tayo Aluko tomorrow at noon Portland time, 3 p.m. New York time, 8 p.m. in Belfast, London, 9 p.m. in Berlin and Copenhagen, and tomorrow. And all of these, that interview tomorrow and this concert will go up in podcast form. If you look for This Week with David Rovics, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find it there in podcast form. And it'll also be up on YouTube in the Discussions with David playlist, which is, I know, a weird place for it, but it'll be there. And some other music playlist anyway. And thank you all for your lovely comments and for listening, and it's been a good fun. And new album Rebel Songs, you look for it on Bandcamp sometime in very near future. And here's a song that's not on any album yet, but probably will be eventually on an album that me and Mike Crenshaw are going to be putting out along with other musicians sometime this year. I'd say would be the closest we can predict on terms of time. It's coming. This song, a version of this song with lots of Mike's verbal, lyrical participation and other music will be on the album. But this is the solo version of the song. And yeah. Like an old cloth torn and fraying, came like a clarion call to illustrate the saying: united we stand, divided we fall. A thin veneer torn by disease shredded the great Khan laid bare, come from across the seas, now floating in the air, like a corpse that's lying exposed, that all of us now can see, all that the cadaver shows about a society, the veil of fantasy lifted, gives us at least some idea how another world is possible. And I can hear her breathing now. Like the red blood that flows from the bullet, whether coated in rubber or not. Like the faces you see in the helmet, reflecting the thickening plot, driven by such a villain as a thing exponential allows. It says another world is possible, and I can hear her breathing now. Like the pallor on so many faces, on every end of the town, on the murals in so many places, boarded up and long ago shut down, making all the connections between the mule and the plow, that another world is possible, and I can hear her breathing now. Smoke rising up coast to coast, with formations that brighten the skies, like Lord Thomas Jefferson's ghost, His victim's no longer disguised as his visage falls into the river. Like the skull of an old secret cow, another world is possible. And I can hear her breathing now. Take care, everybody. Trust your neighbors. Mutual aid, not Band-Aid. Bye for now.